Originally, this video was meant for viewing by Maryland's college and university students, but I'm opening it up to you, whoever watches this video, to tell me how you think Baltimore can best leverage its heritage and its unique history, and if there is an opportunity here. Baltimore. We're talking about Baltimore, the front line of the Mason-Dixon line. Represented here by Route 40, North Avenue. This used to be the place that divided the city, everything below, from the county, everything above. And due to its density, high density housing and location, this area, North Avenue, was the city-county line and the hub of commercial activity and buzz due to its location. After several attempts to revitalize it, the community still shows the pain of an infrastructure unable to keep up with the density it was meant to serve. We're talking specifically about the opportunity at 2216 Druid Hill Avenue. I am Peter Brooks. I am the second grandson of Cab Calloway, the gentleman pictured all the way to the right, my grandfather. Here in this picture is my brother, my mother, my stepfather, my grandfather's sisters, my grandmother, my aunts, my uncles, my cousins, my family. Who was my grandfather, Cab Calloway? He was a band leader, a musician, and an American icon. He left Baltimore in 1926, and in 3 years he had taken over at the Cotton Club. This was the #1 entertainment venue in America at that time, and he enjoyed a 5-year run before going on a European tour. He was the first African American to write a dictionary and to sell 1 million records with his hit song, Minnie the Moocher. He became a world-class, Grammy Award-winning musician whose career spanned 70 years and included films, Broadway, television, magazines, radio, all the mass media. Cab Calloway said that entertaining was his way of expressing godliness. He also said that during the 30s and 40s, there wasn't a city or town where he played that he didn't break attendance records in the nightclubs and theaters there. Cab Calloway was known as the King of Swing and the King of Heidi-Ho. Now, it's not many artists that get that title, the King, and it's very rare to get it bestowed upon you twice. As you'll see in this video, he's a father of rock and roll and a grandfather of hip-hop.
Folks, now here's a story about Minnie the Moocher. She was a red-hot hoochie coocher. She was the roughest, toughest frail. Minnie. She messed around with a bloke named Smokey. She loved him though he was cocky. He took her down to Chinatown. She had a dream about the King of Sweden. Yeah. He gave her things that she was needing. He gave her a home built of gold and steel, a diamond car with the platinum wheels. Oh, ski pop do dot.
Cab Calloway was an international sensation. He really belonged to the world. Here you can see Amsterdam, France, Japan, uh, Iceland, Australia, Germany. He performed all over the world. He helped introduce, he served as an ambassador for Baltimore to the rest of the world, introducing the Black American culture that he'd come from. He wanted people overall to enjoy themselves and to be spontaneous and vibrant.
I think if anybody started rock and roll, I did. I never got credit for it. Nobody ever. But there was never been another one that come along, a singer that improvised the melodies as much as I did, which eventually wound up being rock and roll.
So when an architect told me that the city of Baltimore was planning to demolish this home, I immediately sprung into action because I felt this was an opportunity for economic development in an area that needed it. The city, on the other hand, had planned to build a park there, demolish the home, and create green space. As you can see, mostly lawns. A lot of questions about having entrances to the park in the center of the block. Is that dangerous? Shouldn't people cross at crosswalks and stuff like that? But this is what's going to happen. It would be similar to Dizzy Gillespie's birthplace in Sheraw, South Carolina. I thought Baltimore could do better than South Carolina, right? Sheraw, South Carolina. But still, this is the actual place where Dizzy Gillespie was born, and the fact that it's gone, and you can see the two, places from the foundation from it, it takes away a part of his story, who he was. You don't know where he came from anymore. I looked at Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart's apartment in Vienna, which draws 160,000 visitors a year. Beautiful cafe, restaurants, hotel. Louis Armstrong House in Queens, New York. 12,000 visitors a year. And the pinnacle of them all, the home of Elvis Presley. 600,000 visitors a year. But could that happen here? 12,000 people a year? Economic development? Who in their right mind would invest in a place like this? These buildings even smell bad. This is the place where they burn buildings, and they lose hundreds of children and innocent people each year to violence and criminal activity. It's a place that's filled with junkies that, like the homes, are teetering on collapse. Even the President of the United States called the people here subhuman. And yet, we know that when we destroy our past, we lose our future. I believe that cutting people from their past, erasing it from them, causes them to lose all hope in everything. They lose orientation. And that the lack of responsibility for the past has played a role in the causes of this kind of violence. Now we know that education breeds confidence, and that this young person does not have the confidence to do a resume, to answer a phone interview, to express himself artistically, because he's not educated in those ways. And so this is his response. And we also know that being civil is what creates relationships and partnerships. Being civil opens the door to resources and opportunities. So we know who Cab Calloway was, and this is where he grew up. But what is the significance of 2216 Druid Hill Avenue? Here you see Dan Bell's YouTube page. He visited the house, had 100,000 hits in a month. "2216 Druid Hill Avenue is where the personality of Sportin' Life was born. Here you see Cab Calloway with Joe Louis. Joe Louis was one of the most preeminent athletes of his generation, the heavyweight champion of the world. Joe Louis was so important to the African American community that people would stop whatever they were doing and listen to the radio whenever Joe Louis was on. Here's Cab Calloway being pinned by a woman in Great Britain before World War II. And here he is demonstrating the sporting life, the kind of high style, high life, good life, very flamboyant. His personality was so infectious that Cab Calloway became the first African American to have his own radio show, nationally syndicated. Here you see the ad for it. He is at the Palace Club. Appearing before him was Cary Grant. After him was Fred McMurray. He was helping even to integrate stages that weren't available to African Americans by having this radio show. NBC stayed with the show for a year, even though it never got a sponsor. But more than that, Cab Calloway's flamboyant style of hyper-masculinity contrasted with his contemporaries, who are other African-American male jazz performers, singers. Louis Armstrong, whose songs he's known for might include What a Wonderful World, La Vie en Rose, Mac the Knife. Nat King Cole, who might be known for Mona Lisa, Route 66, or The Christmas Carol. And Cab Calloway, who's known for a song about a prostitute, Minnie the Moocher, a song about a drug dealer, the Reefer Man, and a song that says the Bible is not necessarily true. And that this idea of a tribal code, a generational type of separation based on music, language, and another element called soul, as often at odds with the law, really originated with Cab Calloway.
We the cats shall help you. So reap this righteous rip.
Well, if everything goes all right, which I doubt, Miss Walker.
You take the reap with any side. You put it right on the lehigh, and you can really get by. Oh my! We the cats shall help you. So reap this righteous rip. Pop, pop. Now you'll help, I'll bet you. So reap this righteous rip. Got to help you. So reap this righteous rip. Pop, pop. Here's the spiel to help you. So reap this righteous rip. Pop, pop. Oh, you gotta come on like G.I. You dig the reap meat from the side. Oh, you put it right on the lehigh. Then you can really get by. Oh my. We got to help you. So reap this righteous rip. Pop, pop.
2216 Druid Hill Avenue is also significant because this one location binds 90 years of American music history. It was here that Cab Calloway first devised of the strategy to sing about the conditions and the people in his neighborhood. This was later picked up by Dizzy Gillespie, who was a member of his band, and created bebop, which was a freestyling expression of the power of improvisation and the mind. And finally, this style was picked up by hip-hop, where the artists combine the freestyle improvisation of bebop with the lyrics, the subject matter, and a lot of the style of swing music. And by the style, I'm talking about improvised melodies, call and response, hypermasculinity, etc. And so you can see how people like Cab Calloway and Fats Waller set the stage for performance art in American entertainment. And it was a style that depended on a strong male bravado. It had an emphasis on performance, dance, magnetism, the ability to outthink or outperform or perform magic acts before an audience, to leave an audience. The house is significant because Cab Calloway was not the only one who lived there. Blanche Calloway, another American legend, lived there from 1920 until 1921. It was then, from that house, that she ran away to join U.B. Blake's traveling tour of Shuffle Along. She was underage and used to sing from the wings so that they couldn't see her perform, and knew it was illegal for her to be there. Later on, in Chicago, she introduced her brother Cab to her friend Louis Armstrong. Louis Armstrong helped Cab Calloway get his first job and mentored him. Blanche also helped Chick Webb, Cozy Cole, Ben Webster, and others. She was one of the first female African-American band leaders and was the first female to lead an all-male orchestra on tour. Earl Father Hines said, Blanche had a good way of entertaining. She was wild and wiry in certain things and very sensitive in others. Although Cab may not say this himself, his sister taught him everything he knew about performing. Blanche, not really remembered in a significant way. Most people have no idea who she was and her role in shaping American music and history. She gave up her career to serve God. So, the significance of this house and Cab Calloway. It's where Cab's fondest childhood memories took place, his strongest childhood bonds. It's the place where he could be free, where he enjoyed a similar lifestyle to Louis Armstrong and Count Basie. It's where he lived and learned about sport and life. It's the place where he forged his personality. A lot of his choreography also seems to come from that area and from that era in his life. It is walking distance from where he used to go on Pennsylvania Avenue to learn percussion from Chick Webb. His and Blanche's success as musicians prove the power of Pennsylvania Avenue as an important arts and entertainment district. It tells the story of a unique time and place and is one of the few authentic places with some integrity from the pre-World War II era golden age for African Americans in Baltimore. And it provides a window into 90 plus years of African American music history. It's where this tension between entertaining, making money, telling stories, political commentary, and making people dance, which was the foundation of both rock and roll and hip hop, stems from. Druid Hill Avenue was the place where that energy was first captured and translated such that you could make a living from it. And like Mozart, at its essence, Cab's music is a form of children's music. And so, I want to take this presentation to the Maryland colleges and universities and to people like you to ask if you think this house should be saved. What do you think should, knowing that you have already lost the homes of Eubie Blake, who was one of the first African Americans to produce a Broadway musical and was a top ragtime pianist. Chick Webb, considered the finest percussionist in American history, a Battle of the Bands champion. Billie Holiday, a Grammy Award-winning female jazz vocalist who also was considered the finest of her day, and the Royal Theatre, the proving ground on the Chitlin Circuit. If you could make it at the Royal, you had made it. All that has been taken away from Baltimore's history. Is Cab Calloway's house next? Can Baltimore leverage this heritage? What do you think should happen? Is history and legacy like this important? I want to hear from you. Please leave your comments below this video.